Orji Uzor Kalu, the former governor of Abia State and the senator representing Abia North in the National Assembly, has tackled his fellow Igbos by saying that they are being emotional about the sentencing of Nnamdi Kanu, the detained leader of the indigenous people of Biafra. And he asks, what about the 30,000 Igbos that were killed? Even though he didn't elaborate, but we're going to look at what the senator is talking about. Where is he driving to in his assertion that the Igbos are being emotional about the sentencing of Nnamdi Kanu to life imprisonment by an Abuja High Court? But before we go into that, let us watch him. Watch.
It's not time for noise making. It's not time for fighting. It's a time for reflecting, sober reflection, as if I may say that. Other Igbos died. Nobody's even talking about Igbos that were killed. Nobody's talking about people that own shops that are no longer working. I have my mother's friend that have a rice shop. The woman who owe my mother about 4.2 million naira. They ransacked the whole shops and the woman went bankrupt. And nobody talks about it.
Or the police officers that were killed.
Oh, no, not because they were mentioned in the court. The court never mentioned 30,000 something Igbos that were killed. The court never mentioned about people that lost their business and run away from their villages. It's not something, don't let me to go emotional here. Because it's not something anybody can discuss. A lot of Igbos were killed, Sean. A lot of Igbos were killed. If you don't know it today. Let Igbos stop being emotional. I want us to settle down and go on our knees and find a way that the man can be released. It's part of my job to
Now,
do
that was Senator Orji Uzor Kalu asking or saying that the Igbos are being emotional about the fate of Nnamdi Kanu, and asks, what about the over 30,000 people that were killed? Which also raises the question of who killed the 30,000 people? Who are the killers of the 30,000 people in the southeast he was talking about? But first of all, let us look at the issue of the Igbos being emotional. Are the Igbos emotional about Nnamdi Kanu's sentencing? Perhaps some are, but what I know is that most Nigerians, looking across social media, especially most Nigerians of conscience, who are not influenced by ethnic bias, had looked at the sentencing of Nnamdi Kanu and look at the pampering of the known terrorists in Nigeria, the romancing of known terrorists who hold meetings brandishing AK-47, AK-49, surface to air, shoulder to air missiles and all these things. Even taking selfies in parts of northern Nigeria, negotiating for peace. And Nnamdi Kanu is sentenced to life because of what he allegedly broadcasted. So they look at it, they say, it appears there are two laws in Nigeria, one for the Igbos and one for other Nigerians. They look at it from the perspective of shortly before Nnamdi Kanu's sentencing, a terrorist, a known terrorist, was given only 20 years or thereabout. Okay. We know about the radicalization program of the government under the non-kinetic project, where Boko Haram people are being rehabilitated, de-radicalized, brought back to society with all kinds of allegations, including some people are alleging that they are even being admitted into the Nigerian army. In fact, there is a trending video which I will show you an old video that I will show you at the end of this video. Don't forget to watch it, where an army general was telling Boko Haram people that they should put down their arms, that if they put down their arm, they stand a very good chance of becoming president of Nigeria. I'm going to show you that video at the end of this video. So don't forget to watch it, because that will be the last thing I'm going to put on this video. So that's an indication of how people perceive what is going on in Nigeria. So they look at it from that perspective, that there are two laws in Nigeria. So I don't think that they are being emotional. They are being realistic about what they are seeing going on in their country. Now, that brings us to the number that Orji Uzor Kalu was talking about. He said that over 30,000. What about the over 30,000? I don't know what he meant by that, whether he means that he's linking it to Nnamdi Kanu, or he's linking it to IPOB, or he's linking it to anywhere. He did not elaborate on who should be held accountable. Okay? Because the subject matter is the sentencing of Nnamdi Kanu, and now he was talking about what about the 30,000 Igbos that were killed. But according to Amnesty International August 2025 report, in a report titled "A Decade of Impunity, Attacks and Unlawful Killings in Southeast Nigeria." Now, the report gave us details of those who are responsible for the killings in the Southeast. And the majority of those who have carried out this, according to Amnesty report, are government authorities as a result of brutal crackdown on pro-Biafra protests, which started in August 2015 and plunged the Southeast region in an endless cycle of bloodshed. In other words, Amnesty International is saying that the brutal crackdown is responsible for the alleged killings in the Southeast. Okay? And the figure is, with Amnesty International, is about 1,844 people were killed in the Southeast due to insecurity-related violence. And in this analysis, it also includes those who are being cracked down as a result of pro-Biafra. Then there is more violence, there is electoral violence, and all that. Then it broke it down to 400 deaths that were caused by gunmen in Imo State alone between 2019 and 2021. And at least 115 people killed by security forces in Southeast between March and June 2021. Okay? And then 28 deaths as a result of military invasion of IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu's home. But all in all, there is no figure that is close to the figures of Amnesty International of killings in Southeast. Is not up to that 30,000. However, the record of 30,000 was by Inter-Society. Remember Inter-Society? Inter-Society was the NGO with the headquarters in Onitsha that American actor and comedian Bill Maher used in saying that more genocide is going on in Christian genocide is going on in Nigeria compared to what people are complaining going on in Gaza, in Middle East. Okay, in the Inter-Society, they wrote that in their own finding in the last 10 years, and that's since 2009, that over 100,000 Christians have been killed, 18,000 churches burned. Okay, and reported that even this year alone, 7,000 Christians have been killed. So in their own report about killings in the southeast, they say that 32,000 people have been killed in the southeast. Now, that 32,000, according to Inter-Society, those 32,000 people, including those who disappeared, were largely the handiwork of security agents. So Inter-Society is blaming Nigerian security forces operating in the southeast to deal with IPOB for the deaths and disappearance of these about 32,000 people. Okay? Therefore, it means that Inter-Society is not blaming IPOB for being largely accountable for these deaths. And IPOB is the group headed by Nnamdi Kanu. Amnesty International too, when you look at their report is also blaming the brutal crackdown by security forces for the killings in the southeast. So which now begs the question, what is Orji Uzor Kalu trying to drive at? He said that the 30,000 are not being accounted for. Nobody's talking about them. Well, he is the senator representing Abia North. And Abia is in the southeast. So how many of his constituents constitute that 30,000? And what has he done? If nobody is accounting for them, what has he done to ensure that there are people that kill those people? Whether it's IPOB, whether it is security agents, whoever is held accountable. Because it's not just enough to be throwing numbers and be showing anger on national television when you are in a position to be able to do something about it, being a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria representing Abia North. Okay? So he ought to have told us how many from his constituency are among these people that died and what he had done, instead of saying that nobody is accounting for them. He's in a position to make sure that those who did it, whether he's alleging it's IPOB, whether he's alleging it, whether as Amnesty International and Inter-Society are alleging that it is most of these killings was done by security agents in the effort to crack down on IPOB members. So he is in a position to do something instead of trying to divert attention or trying to blame somebody else. Because he ought to have been able to take the matter up, because 30,000 is not a small number of people that will die, and the senators representing Southeast are not doing anything about it, and they are waiting for the court to do something about it without presenting concrete evidence to be able to address the matter. Of course, he talked about his mother who has lost money as a result of perhaps sit at home, or perhaps because of enforcement of sit at home or whatever, because he was talking about how his mother lost money and how another woman business closed. There have been reports that Southeast has lost a lot of money as a result of sit at home. Okay, now according to the report that was done by SBN Intelligence, which was released in May this year, the report titled 4 Years of Disruption documented what it has called Southeast, the sitting at home every Monday since 2021. And it was calculated as 7.6 trillion. The Southeast lost 7.6 trillion to sit at home since 2021. But what led to sit at home? the sit-at-home, there was no sit-at-home in the Southeast before the APC came to power. Sit-at-home started in 2021. Sit-at-home started in 2021 when the government of the APC, led by Muhammad Buhari, renditioned Nnamdi Kanu to Nigeria in an act that the United Nations Human Rights Council described as a violation of international law. The court in Kenya has also said it was a violation of the Kenyan law, what they did to Nnamdi Kanu. Now, it was when he was bundled back to Nigeria that people, his supporters, began to use that sit-at-home as a show of solidarity with him. Whether you like it or not, but that's the history. So it is the APC that brought the sit-at-home to Southeast. Because if they didn't rendition him illegally, according to all international known laws, there wouldn't have been any sit-at-home. So Orji Uzor Kalu himself, being a member of APC, is also accountable for what his party did, for what the woman he was talking about had lost business, his own mother lost things, and this SBN intelligence report of 7.6 trillion that was lost. So it's a collateral when the government of APC, instead of seeking peace, the same thing they are doing with the bandits up north, the Boko Haram and all that. They ought to have applied the same diplomacy for those who are just agitating. Because even under international law, right of self-determination is not a crime. United Nations recognize it as a human right for any community, any group to seek self-determination. Now the issue is, how do you progress with it so that it will be in line with rule of law? But that's a story for another day. But this just to show that Orji Uzor Kalu cannot escape from responsibility from what his party did that led to what is happening in the Southeast. I don't know what you think about Orji Uzor Kalu's intervention and what he said about the Igbos being emotional about Nnamdi Kanu's fate thus far. But whatever is your position, let's hear from you at the comment section. Thank you for watching this video. And if you are new to my channel, you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to my channel, hit the subscription button, hit the notification bell. When you subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell, anytime I have a new video, you'll be among the first to know. God bless you. And please don't forget to like this video, because when you like it, Google will rank it high and recommend it for more people. Thank you, and God bless you and yours.
For everyone, you need to come on board. Boko Haram should lay their arms unconditionally and be accepted in the community. Opportunities are out there for them. They can be rehabilitated. An ex-Boko Haram stands having laid his arms and comes back, turns his way away from his negativity. He stands to be a president of this country. He stands to aspire to any position in this country. Why is he wasting his time when he cannot even deliver? We will do that. But we have appealed to them, including their detractors, their collaborators, to see reason to, as fast as possible, quickly drop their arms so that we can once again reoccupy our peaceful position in Nigeria.